Globalization is a theory whose aims includes the interpretation of the current events on the international sphere in terms of development, economic conditions, and social scenarios and political and cultural influences. Now that we already have established the many definitions about globalization, this time let us have a glimpse of important theories of globalization. We will analyze the globalization culturally, politically, and economically. A pleasant day to you, everyone. Today we will be discussing the theories of globalization, and our learning objectives for this group is to offer the comprehensive and critical introduction to the concept of globalization. Second is to explain carefully the central themes like capitalism, governance, culture, and history as driving forces of this globalization. And lastly, we will be presenting to you the theory of globalization. But before we will start, please help me welcome, ladies and gentlemen, our members of this group. Tagalog King Byron, Tagalog Kendrick, Cantiveros Ian John, Anoling Jaybert, Omongos Jill Leander, Sagrado Kerkolen, Lucero Daniel, Parilla Mark, Phil Wilhelm Dave, and truly yours, Kambal Raymond Timothy. At this juncture, we will be discussing for now the comprehensive and critical introduction to the concept of globalization. But before that, I will elaborate to you what is the word comprehensive. So from the word comprehensive, it defines with a complete or including or what we call nearly all elements or aspects for something. But anyways, let's start. The introduction. Globalization cannot be reduced to a single idea that can be defined and covered in a infinite amount of time. So it means that the theories of globalization will be discussing later on, but to have her under in 8 categories for these theories. So first we have liberalism, second political realism, third is Marxism, and fourth is constructivism, fifth is postmodernism, and sixth is feminism. And seventh is transformationalism, and lastly the eclecticism. So each one of them is carries with several variations. So it is stated there that one definition of globalization is the establishment of the global market free from socio-political control. So it is a global process, a concept, and a revolution, and involves economic integration, the transfers of policies and across borders. So the transmission of knowledge, cultural stability and reproduction, relation, and the sources of power. So over the years, it has been defined in a variety of ways. So to sum up everything, so the wide-ranging effects of the globalization are complex and politically charged. So as with the major and technological advances, the globalization benefits the society as a whole. So while harming certain groups, and by understanding the relative costs and benefits can pave the way of alleviating problems while sustaining the wider payoffs.
So good day everyone, I am Kendrick Tagalog, and here is my explanation about globalization. So globalization, by definition, it crosses many fields, communities, and civilizations. This provides a wide range of perspectives, whether economic, social, and political. So globalization is the acceleration of global movements and exchanges of people, products and services, capital, technologies, and cultural practices. And one of the consequences of globalization is that it encourages and expands interactions between different regions and communities around the world. Globalization is the growing connectivity and interdependence of people and countries. It is widely believed to include 2 interconnected elements. The first one is the opening of international borders to increasingly fast flows of goods, services, finance, people, and ideas. And the other one is the changes in national and international institutions and policies that facilitate or promote such flows. And next reporter, please.
So, good day everyone. I am Deck Cadet Tagalog King Baron, and today I'm going to continue what my other group mates have already discussed. So, they have already said that the globalization has too many definition. So, but according to Dr. Naif, 2006, in his opinion and based on our knowledge of globalization as it understood today, he proposed the definition. So the globalization is a process that encompasses the causes, course, and consequence of transitional and transcultural integration of human and non-human activities. This definition, it is vital to utilize a broad perspective in order for it to be brief yet comprehensive as possible. So globalization is not an endpoint to be discussed and then forgotten. Rather, it is a process, a current that has been impacting communities, culture, and economies for hundreds of years. It is also a result of transitional and transcultural integration that have occurred globally throughout the history. It compasses the causes, the course, and the consequence of this integration. The intermingling has inspired throughout activities that are both human and non-human in nature. So in human activities, it compasses the linguistic, cultural, economic, and political aspects of human life, along with many others. So in the non-human activities, which incorporate but are not limited to the spread of bacteria and non-human disease, such as bird flu, um, as well as the natural disasters such as tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquake, and hurricanes. As all of these issues impact human and global security, it is our opinion that truly comprehensive definition must address them. So, in addition, it is important to recognize that globalization is not a force that needs to be stopped. Rather, it is the process that influence each of us in number of ways, both to our benefit and also to our detriment. So, when embraced in the context of our definition, globalization can be understood in a way that allows for a greater appreciation of consequently movement towards furthering individual as well as global security and stability. So that is all. Thank you.
Good day, sir. I am Colin B. Sagrado, and today I am going to discuss one of the central theme of globalization, or central theme that drives globalization. So, globalization of culture contributes to the exchange of culture values of different countries, the convergence of traditions, and the cultural understanding. This includes tourism, education, social media, traditional media, news media, and face-to-face contact, which drives globalization. So, first, I'm going to discuss about the tourism. So, in tourism, when people travel to different countries, they share their cultural beliefs and practices with each other between the host country and the its tourist. So, with this process, cultural understanding takes place, which drives globalization. Next is the education. In education, the influential facts of education on culture result to preservations of cultures, transmission of cultures, promotion of cultures, equips man to adapt to changing cultural patterns, and molding personality which drives globalization. So, next is the social medias or the three medias. So, the medias have an important impact on cultural globalization in two mutually interdependent ways. First, the media provide an extensive transmissional or transmission of cultural products. Secondly, they contribute to the formation of communicative networks and social structures. So that's for the media on how it drives globalization. So lastly, we have the face-to-face contact. So in face-to-face contact, cultural globalization involves the information of shared norms and knowledge with with each other or with the people to associate their individual and collective cultural identities. So, with face-to-face contact, it brings increasing interconnectedness among different populations and cultures, which is mainly the cause of globalization. So, those are the ideas that relate to cultural that drives globalization. Next reporter, please.
I'm the cadet Fiel Wilhelm Dave A, and I will be talking about the global governance and shaping globalization. So, what is global governance? So, global governance encompasses activities which transcend national boundaries at the international. So, when we say transcend or international, they will go to some of other countries import or transport the product or maybe the shall we say from China. So China had a product that import import to Philippines so that that both country will keep us alive. So kanang ang kanang duha magkasosyo na sila like sa term ni Duterte. Sa term ni Duterte, ang US, China and Russia sa ako rang nabawan ang US, China ug Russia kay kasosyo ni Duterte. So kay kasosyo ni Duterte walay kaaway si Duterte, and then ang growth ato even nag pandemic siya kang growth ato sa mga kuan sa mga negosyante, although impact siya kay tungod sa kanang tungod sa pandemic nga daghang na nirado nga kuan establishment and some other companies nga nanira kay wala lagi kasugakod aning pandemic. So Duterte nagkuan siya nga kanang wala niya gikalaban ang kato nga countries kay maka if kanang puhon-puhon kato nga countries nga kuan makatabang to nga mupalago sa ato ang kanang globalization. So ang atong globalization makuan siya kanang mo taas mo increase iyang mga product unsay mga manindot, and then the transnational and regional levels is based on right rules. So that are enforced through a combination of economic mo na siya ang economic na to mo taas dayon ang kanang kuan ang kanang moral incentives mukha na siya kanang like could say other foreigners come to here, other foreigners uh, uh, mo ari diri sa Philippines kay nako na yung mga nindot nga place like una maging nasira na to pag pandemic kay kaning mga islands, mga beaches, mga something like kanang mga dagat nga kuan kay mao ginay panginabuhi sa uban nga tao nga although katong pag-close sa pandemic, so wala sila customer, wala sila bisag unsa, so ang ilang mga gamit sa pang-diving, free diving, ilang gipamaligya, and then ang uban marag nga guba kay niagi ang audit, and then pagagi sa audit kay mo na to nawala na ang uban nga dive shop kay although na bankrupt ana, and then time will heal man siguro, and then karon naka-focus na I'm from Malboal di ay, so ang Malboal karon is okay na siya kanang nakabawi na sad tungod atong pandemic og sa audit. And then for the so when we say global governance, naasay global governance ang gawas. So if we say Germany, nindot sa dilang governance dito is Germany is one of the most world globalized countries. So its prosperity depends largely on international trade and investment. So ang mga Germany kay mga kuan jud na siya kanang like shall we say mga dato, di ba? Maari diri ang mga foreigners di makuan jud sila kanang ang mga Pinay, mga kuan nga sir niya uban mga farm pa kay tungod lagi ana nga ang mga Germany dagang kwarta ana. So tungod na sad na silang globalization. So ang kuan nila ang ilang countries kay more on investors mo dito so makatoy-trade sila ba. And never before has a global governance been important to ensure open and rules-based markets and fair competition. So ang ilaha dito sa Germany is kanang nagkinabangay sila nga para ang ilang country mounlad sad sila, and as a multilateral rules of trade are under attack. So few other countries in the world are globalized as Germany. So ang uban na kuan sa Germany na murag nga ganahan sila mo adapt sa Germany nga kuan, so they trade to GDP ratio. So exports and imports of goods service. So mo na akong gingon ganina nga mo import sila sa panalitan ng Russia or something like China, mo import sa toa or mo export sa toa, and then was 87% in 2017. So foreign trade is one of the country's most important engines of growth. So competitiveness and employment, about one in four jobs. So ang kuan ang Germany, di ba dito kay mga trabaho nila dagkog sildo ana, di ba gawas ana, like daghang nagtrabaho nga mga Filipino nag OFW kay lagi dagkog income dito sa gawas kay tungod manggod na siya sa inflation siguro. Kay today's generation murag nakita nako na ang US dollar kay nisaka na sadya sa 58. So although sa atoa is ni mubo ng atong presyo kay 1:58 equivalent so US dollar. So kung siguro ang dollar nisaka siya tungod ng kuan siguro mga sa gasolina sa Russia, even kay moto nagkuan na to sa news nga nagka-hectic na daw ang gasoline. So ang gigamit karon nga gasoline is for the US. So ang ang Philippines, ang other countries ni palit sa US. So that's why siguro nga nidaas ang ilang USD. So equivalent sa 1 USD is 58. So ang ubang OFW is nangalipay sila kay tungod ang ilang dollar salary kay nitaas. So like us nautical, soon to be nautical, pero maybe dili na may makabot ng 58 kay parag nasa na solution si BBM. I don't know kung say nang padagan basta kay ang nabawaan na nako takot ako dito taguta. So about 1/4 hours jobs in defense directly or indirectly export. So in the manufacturing sector, the figure is even 1 into 2 jobs. Also, one of the countries with the highest number of foreign students. So with benefits from the exchange research ideas and cultures. So Germany's prosperity depends of the world economy.
Good day, I am Decadent Juliandre Momas, and today I am going to tackle about the central themes of history as driving forces of globalization. So, the history and background of globalization, the world has experienced the rising and falling of human civilization over the time. In fact, the global history expressed that the recent trends of globalization have followed countless waves corresponding 19th century. These waves have transferred, expanded, and naturalized the term of globalization. Rapidly and magnitude of globalization have implied the changes in transportation and communication modes all over the world. Right now, the networks are the ways of social associations as the relationship that is presently governing our lifespan. So, for me, besides advanced information and communication, technology have been changing worldwide economic activities and linking people in global society. Therefore, the history of globalization is changing rapidly in multiple modernities with the connection of network societies. Globalization and world politics. At present, globalization is changing the shape of the world politics through interaction among countries. The recent years could be regarded as the beginnings of globalization with reference to specific technology advances in transportation and communication.
Good day, sir. I'm the Cadet Ian Jan Riveras and the Cadet Gilbert Anolain. We are here to tackle about present the theory of globalization, the advantage and disadvantage theory globalization.
Advantage during globalization. Do the globalization business can create their goods more cheaply. Additionally, it heightens international competition, which lowers costs and gives customers a wider range of options. People in both developing and developed nations can live better on less money because to lower price. For me, sir, in today's digitalization globalization has had advantage when it comes business and customers. Why? Because the business can show there are products through the use of social media, and the same time the consumers were able to know the product itself. They have the chance, the freedom to choose. The next reporter is Ayan Cotevero.
So disadvantage theory on globalization, the globalization that just keep doing well as it's not true. It will impact us multidimensional way. So it has some disadvantage also. These are growing inequality, increasing of unemployment rate. Growing inequality, globalization can increase inequality throughout the world by increasing specialization and trade. Although specialization and trade both the capita per capita income, it may cause relative poverty. To illustrate this, we will take an example. All dominant MNCs in the world are located in the United States. All these companies are buying cheaper labor from developing or undeveloped countries for their product. Manufacturing or assembling, China, India, and Africa are prime example of this. It increased the employment of such countries, but they are lagging behind relatively developed countries. Again, those companies coming to these countries for cheap labor, they also deprive of that country, i.e., American people, from work. So it happened that relative poverty is being created in developed countries as well. So, increasing of the unemployment rate, globalization can increase unemployment rate where people are getting jobs. How it is possible? Here is the some explanation. Globalization demands for higher skill work with cheaper price, but countries where institutions are relatively weak are not capable of proceeding highly skilled workers. As a result, the unemployment rate is increasing in those countries when many foreign companies invest heavily in developing countries. They hire employees from that country. In some cases, their salaries are very lower than the other developed countries. Moreover, the demand for these employees is in developed countries is very low. Moreover, with the emergencies of global economic crisis, their job at the risk of losing. So by trade of both of their per capita income, it causes relative poverty worldwide. Growing unemployment rate, globalization can increase the unemployment rate since it demands higher skill work at a lower price.
Good day, everyone. I'm the Cadet Perlia, and I'm here to tackle uh, about the central themes of globalization. So, first is capitalism. So, what is capitalism? Capitalism is a political and economic system that emphasizes private production of goods and services via various means. So the key characteristics of capitalism include minimal government or state intervention, a focus on corporations rather than individuals, and a uniform pricing system. So, globalization and capitalism are taking points these days. Contrary to popular belief, the two terms cannot be used interchangeably. Globalization is a broad term with numerous definitions, whereas capitalism has a specific definition. So the assumption that globalization is synonymous with capitalism is incorrect. So one of the effects of capitalism is an economic system is that it breeds competition between countries and perpetuates poverty in developing countries. Due to the individual interest of private corporations rather than the needs of their workers. As a result, these organizations tend to prioritize wealth preservations, so they only pay those who work for them or have a lot of money. As a result, certain countries have higher rates of poverty and unemployment, which is a negative impact on their economy, environment, and population. Furthermore, most countries' current capitalist standard involves skirting environmental regulations, drastically underpaying workers, and confining them to unfair working conditions.
Good day, sir, and good day, classmates. I am the Cadet Daniel Rosero, and I have here as well today the Cadet Jaybert Anuling and the Cadet Ian John Conteveros. And I will be presenting my part for this topic, which is about to present the theory on globalization. But first and foremost, let me have a brief discussion of what globalization is. So, globalization is the sharing of culture, money, and products between countries that is happening due to international trade and advances in transportation and communication. Globalization is also a social process where people become more aware of other culture and more aware of other culture across geographical, political, and social borders. So now let us talk who Immanuel Wallerstein is. So Immanuel Wallerstein is an American sociologist and an economic historian. He is most recognized for developing the broad sociological method, which helped give rise to his world systems perspective, or also known as world system theory. So now let's move to defining what world system theory is. World system theory is a multidisciplinary approach to world history and social change that stresses the world system as the basic unit of social study, also known as world system analysis or the world systems perspectives. World system theory focuses on the importance of the world as a unit rather than looking at it as individual countries. So there are three regions of the world systems theory. These are core countries, peripheral countries, and semi-peripheral countries. First, the core countries. So the core countries include areas like Western Europe and the United States. These countries have a strong central government with enough tax to support it and are economically diversified, industrialized, and independent. Nextly is the peripheral countries. The peripheral countries are those in Latin America and Africa, which tend to depend only on one type of economic activity like extracting raw materials and etc. Lastly are the semi-peripheral countries. So the semi-peripheral countries like India and Brazil, they make up the middle ground between core and periphery and are often not dominant in international trade, but they have relatively diversified and developed economy. So that will be all for my part. Thank you.